Artigos definidos. Um, the way like we use articles in Portuguese is really messy, okay? It's important for students to understand that on level A1 and even on level A2 and B1, there are a few things that they are really, really important. An example, on level A1, you really have to know how to conjugate regular verbs. If you don't know how to conjugate regular verbs, you have a problem there and you have to fix that problem as soon as possible. On level A1 as well, if you don't know how to conjugate the big four irregular verbs, ser, ter, ir, and estar, you also have a problem and you have to fix that as soon as possible. However, there are other topics that you're going to learn on level A1 that you just cannot be perfect on those topics, okay? And this is one of them. Artigos, the way like you use artigos, articles, are really complex in Portuguese and they're really chaotic. Um, I'm going to teach you loads of different rules about the way like you use articles in Portuguese. However, if you're curious about all the rules that we have for articles, you would have to move on to level C1. And as you probably remember, or as you probably know, when you're learning a language, there are 6 levels: A1, A2, beginners, B1, B2, intermediate, and C1, C2, advanced. So at the moment, you're starting on level A1, and I just told you that if you're curious about all the rules that we have for articles, you would have to move on to level C1. So as you can understand, it's something that it just doesn't make sense, right? Because you're starting from scratch. So this means that it's important for you to understand what's happening, but you can't be perfect on articles because we have a very long list of rules. And to be honest with you, those rules that you can find on level C, they will not explain all the context where you use the article. So just chill, get the big picture, and don't try to be perfect with that because it's not possible for you at the moment. On level A1, and starting now, I'm gonna teach you a few rules or many rules about articles. But once again, you won't learn all the rules that we have for articles because that's a C1 content. Okay, so let's see. If I ask you to say in Portuguese, the car, do you have any idea how to say the car in Portuguese? So the answer for this question is here, o carro. So this is like the car, okay? And if I ask you to translate this to Portuguese, how would you translate the cars, plural, the cars? You probably can guess that the translation is here. So os carros. Now we have carros, more than one car. It's plural masculine, so we switch for os. And then if I ask you, how would you say the chicken? The answer is here. So galinha is chicken, it's singular, it's feminine, so we would say a galinha. And if I ask you, how can I say the chickens in Portuguese? The answer is here. So as galinhas. So in English, you just have one word. You would say the car, the cars, the chicken, the chickens. But in Portuguese, we have four. We say o, os, a, as. And be careful with the sounds because this vowel here, when you're reading the alphabet, it's an open sound. We say o, p, k, and so on. But then when we use this letter as as an article, the sound is u. So this is o carro, and this is os carros. And it's the same logic here for this vowel. So when you're reading the alphabet, you say a, b, c, right? So it's an open sound, a. But when you're using this letter as an article, the sound is closed. So it's a galinha, as galinhas. Okay? Let's check a few examples. This question here, quem é ele? This means who is he? Again, quem é ele? And the answer is ele é o João. He is the John. This sounds very crazy in English, right? He is the John. He is the Pedro. He is the Rui. It just doesn't work, right? So rule number one for articles. If you're talking directly to someone, you would just say Pedro, tudo bem? Maria, tudo bem? There's no article here, okay? So if you're talking to someone, usually we just use the name of that person and that's it. There's no article before. So Pedro, tudo bem? Maria, tudo bem? João, tudo bem? However, if you are in a super formal context and if you notice that people are using an article, they put an article before your name, it means that they're being very formal with you. If they say o Pedro é português, a Maria trabalha em Lisboa, o João é brasileiro. So if someone is talking to you and if they put an article before your name, they're being very formal with you. I would say that it doesn't happen very often. I would never do that. I'm very, very informal. But some people they do that. So you know now that if you notice that someone is using an article before your name, talking to you directly, they're being very formal with you. However, if you're talking about a third person, yes, on that case, we have an article. We always have an article on that case. So if I'm talking directly to Pedro, I would say, Pedro, tudo bem? A Maria é simpática. So I'm saying the Maria is nice. Or I would say, Pedro, tudo bem? O João é português. The John is Portuguese. So every time I'm talking about a third person, we put an article there, okay? So we say, o Pedro é alto, a Maria é simpática, a Joana é baixa, o João é gordo. Okay, so every time we talk about the third person, there's an article there. This is very, very important. Let's check a few examples more. Quem é ela? So this is who is she? And the answer is ela é a Teresa. So she is the Teresa, talking about the third person. And then we have here as flores, which means the flowers, and os carros, as you already know, means the cars.